Have you ever wondered why every AAA game studio seemingly copies the other AAA game studios? Or have you wondered why these same studios keep producing the same game year over year? Well, I've certainly wondered the same thing. And in this quest of wondering, I've stumbled upon the answer. To answer this question, I wanted to take a deeper dive or a magnifying glass to Embark Gaming Studios. Now, we've all heard of Embark recently, but who are they? Where do they come from? What games have they made as Embark? What games have they made before Embark? What's the current industry looking like? Why are they a threat to the industry or not? And then share my thoughts and, what this means for gaming. So let's get into it. So Embark Studios is made up of ex-DICE employees, and they've worked on many EA games. Some of the notable games they've worked on is Battlefield 1, Battlefront, Battlefield 3 and 4, Mirror's Edge, and many of them left during or before or after the release of Battlefield 5. Now, Embark is published by Nexon, and I used to think, Nexon's bad, quote unquote, from what they did with Dark and Darker and Iron Mace, but seeing how the Iron Mace devs have kind of acted towards their own community makes me think that Iron Mace might be the problem, but that's a topic for another time, and maybe you got to do your own research on that subject. So Embark's first major project was Arc Raiders. I don't know if they had a different name for it. This isn't really like a history lesson. I'm sure they did have a code name for it. Their first project was Arc Raiders, and it was launched or teased as a PvE-only looter shooter. The scope of that project was pretty large, and they needed a lot more time in the oven. And over time, as we know, the scope changed. The scope of work changed, and the vision for the game changed. Their second project, but their first release, was the finals. And we'll expand on these games individually and kind of go over what makes them special, what makes them the same, what makes them good, what makes them bad, whatever it is. But I just wanted to kind of go over who is Embark, what have they done, where do they come from? So moving on, I wanted to set a foundation of what the current AAA industry looks like. And when I say AAA, I just mean quote unquote AAA, the big studios, the big money, multi-million-dollar budgets, and some of them almost pushing $1 billion in budget. So these major studios, they're usually publicly traded, big money behind them, and big scopes, big visions, these big major titles from big major studios. And we all know these studios, and we all know the games that we've played from them over the years. But why has the AAA game space become like the copy and paste industry? It's really like all these games are just trying to be Fortnite, and they're just trying to cash in, get that money. Or at least it seems like it from a player's perspective. Like every game has a battle pass, or it adds one down the line. Sea of Thieves added a battle pass, in the middle of their development. Halo made Halo Infinite basically centered around having a battle pass and being free to play. I know it's not a AAA game, but I guess Fall Guys was buy to play, and then they went to a free to play model with a battle pass. And why does every game have to be a battle royale? Why does every game have to add a BR? I mean, how many failed BRs are there? Battlefield 5, Firestorm, Black Ops 4, Blackout. I mean, even Counter-Strike did Danger Zone. That failed. WoW added Plunderstorm, RedSec from Battlefield 6. That's basically Warzone copied and pasted with a little bit of difference. Forza added the Eliminator. Like, what the heck, dude? Fallout 76 added Nuclear Winter. Tetris 99. Who remembers Hyperscape? Rumbleverse, Fall Guys. There are some good ones, like Titanfall's Battle Royale. Apex Legends. Warzone is pretty successful. It's pretty good, and it has its moments. Fortnite's still pretty good in the BR realm, and a lot of people are still playing PUBG. Now, I know not all those games are like AAA games, but it's just like the copy and paste industry. What's the most successful company or game doing? We're just going to copy that. And where do you think these ideas come from? From gamers, people who are gamers making games, or people who are seeing profits and seeing their competitors make money and they want a piece of that? It seems like the latter. Now, it's not like they're just copying battle royales or battle passes. It's also like with hero shooters. Like, how many hero shooters have we got in the last 10 years? Like, yet another one. I mean, Team Fortress 2, Team Fortress, and Team Fortress Classic, they're the GOATs. I still play TFC and TF2 here and there. But, Overwatch 1 was pretty good. It kind of expanded on that idea and made it something memorable. It was a chef's kiss when Overwatch 1 came out. It was great. I remember playing it 2014 at BlizzCon, and I was like, this is the best game I've ever played. Now, with the success of Overwatch 1 came all the clones, if you will, and some of them kind of came up at the same time for the same reasons. I feel like everyone just wants to copy Valve, and they have with, the tac shooters and the hero shooters, and Overwatch 1 was so popular, and at the same time, they're making Battleborn and Paladins, and here comes Lawbreakers, or other games that are kind of mashing up two different games like Valorant or Rainbow Six, and even Apex has like hero shooters, elements in it. And they tried to do it in a Battlefield game with 2042, or like a Call of Duty kind of like game with X Defiant. But then, now we got Marvel Rivals, which seems to be good. And so it's like this whole industry is just copying itself. They're copying who they think is successful. They see numbers and they see, revenue being earned. And people are like, let's do that. How can we do that, but make it different enough that we can make it our own, but also make it fun, quote unquote, and how can we make a huge return on our investment here? Because it seems like a lot of this AAA, quote unquote, industry is just people seeking a return on investment. And they're looking at their competitors and just saying, how can we do this but better? Or how can we do this and gain more return? Now, with that in mind, I think these games are also made less with fun as a priority and more about fun with quotes. And they try to manufacture that. And I talk more about this in a video I made, which I'll link in the description. They try to manufacture fun. And they do this in, they put bots in Marvel Rivals, so you stay engaged in the game. Skill-based matchmaking is a perfect example of them trying to manufacture your fun so you win more, and you're playing against people of your, skill level with quotes, which is hard to quantify in any amount. There's bots in Fortnite to make it seem like you're having fun the first game you join, that you're fighting bots and you win. You get that winning feeling because you're farming bots, but you don't know it because they look like players. And these are exploited with boosted lobbies or the casual mode in Warzone is more bots. They added Battlefield Casual. At least they're telling you these are bots. And so it's not only just that they're copying each other, they're trying to, it seems like, manipulate you to stay in the game because they know the longer you stay in the game, the more likely you're going to spend money. And the more you stay in the game, the more money you're going to spend. And so they use these manipulative tactics to keep you playing. Now, spoiler, I do think it's because the emphasis is on gaining a profit rather than making a memorable, fun game. And we see this a lot even when these games are rushed to the market. These broken, unfinished games are just, we're releasing this date to keep shareholders happy, to keep that stock price going up. And these launches are usually poor and met with a lot of criticism, bugs, and just issues. And then we will fix it mentality. It's a games as a service. We're not going to launch a finished product. We're going to give you a full price game that's half baked and we'll fix it eventually. Now, all these games that we've played and loved over the years from these AAA studios didn't start like this. So when did this happen? Why did this happen? How did this happen? Is this going to keep happening? Now, I think this is all relevant to what I'm trying to talk about with Embark. Because is it just because these games become centered on profit rather than fun that they start copying each other, or they start trying to manipulate you to stay in the game, or they just rush to market? And I would argue yes, but this is relevant to Embark. So now let's talk about Embark and their games and kind of compare and contrast what makes them different and what makes them popular right now. But I also think these questions are answered by just looking at Embark's history, because these guys came from DICE, which is, from EA, and they worked on some of these games that I love, like Battlefield 1 is one of my favorite Battlefields. But it all follows this developer game studio cycle that I'll point out later in the video. But let's talk about Embark and their games, and let's go deeper into each game individually. The Finals. The Finals is a first-person shooter with a unique game mode. The main game mode that the title is centered around is that you have multiple teams of 3 searching for a cash box, and then you have to go extract that cash box at certain points. So you have multiple areas to fight multiple teams, and then you have the game molding into an attack-defense game in the middle of the game. And then it has rounds based on where you place in each particular round. And at the end, you'll reach the finals, and it's a team of 3 versus a team of 3. It's very unique. It's not another battle royale. It's not another hero shooter. It's a free-to-play game, but there's no pay to win. And it's also like a weapon and a gadget sandbox for you to make your own unique loadout and play style. Now, they've added other game modes, which I really like Power Shift and Point Break. Now, those are similar to other game modes that we've seen from first-person shooters, but the Finals came out as a unique type of game that isn't copying anyone. They're just making their own thing, which is new in the first-person kind of shooter genre because it's, capture the flag, defend this, plant the bomb, and then it's been Battle Royale for the last 10 years. And these guys are making something new and unique, and dare I say, fun. Now, the devs do a great job at updating the game, balancing the game, and it does seem like the game is just made for fun. Like it's made to play and have fun. It doesn't seem like it's just at your throat for profits. Like I open up these AAA games and I get ads to buy the battle pass or something in the cash shop. This doesn't happen in the Finals. Now, their main game, Arc Raiders. Everyone knows Arc Raiders. Everyone watching this should know Arc Raiders. Now, Arc Raiders, as it stands now, is a PvEVP extraction third-person shooter where you fight these AI Arc or bots or robots, and you fight other hostile raiders that live underground, and you're going to the surface to scavenge for parts. The setting is post-apocalyptic, as if the world ended in the 80s. So the game was originally teased in a launch trailer as a PvE-only co-op shooter. And over time, obviously that changed. But it changed because the developers playtest their own games. And they found that the PvE-only model just wasn't fun. And this is a direct quote from them. The game wasn't fun. Now, don't be mad at me that they changed the game. I think the game changed for the better. I am so glad that they changed the game to what it is because I really like Arc Raiders, and a lot of people agree. And who would have guessed that when you make a game emphasizing fun over profitability, that we get something like this? And maybe that's a hint to where I'm going with this video. But some more things about our Arc Raiders is their soundscape. Their sound design is just so good. Every sound just tells a story. Now, the biggest difficulty of the PvE is the threat of other players. And the threat of other players is what makes the sound design so well done. Everything you do makes a unique sound. So many times I've been playing with a group or solo, and the sounds I'm hearing tell a story about what's happening around me with Arc, the PvE, or other players, the Raiders. And it gives me a good indication of how I should play my next move. And there's been so many times that I've won fights just because I understood the sound and what I'm listening to. So sound design. But also a cool thing about Arc Raiders is you can play however you want. You can play extremely aggressive like some of these, W key streamers do. Or you could play passive. You don't have to engage in fights. You can be cooperative. You can use your charismatic microphone skills and make friends, or you can just shoot on sight. Like the game doesn't tell you how you should play. Instead, it allows you to play however you want. Now, if you go to any place that people post their opinion, you'll see that everyone shoots them on sight, which I don't think is true. I think people are very dramatic, but I've found that the game is incredibly random. Some people want to cooperate, some people don't. And that's fine. You can play the way you want to play. Also, Arc Raiders has a clear vision. They play their games. They understand what they have made here, and they understand what they have not made. And by playing their game, even launching one way, going back and changing the vision and the direction of the game just shows me that, hey, I trust these guys. I trust these devs because they understand what they're doing. They're playing their game. They seem to want to make appropriate changes to keep the game fun from a player's perspective, not a shareholder's perspective. And it doesn't seem like they're just going after profits or numbers or trends or appealing to everyone while risking appealing to no one. and it seems like there are people who are actually players. Like this game is made by people who are actually playing the game. What a wild concept, I know, but I think that's what's wrong with the AAA industry. And I think that's why they're such a threat. Now, for those of you that don't know, before Arc Raiders released, Arc Raiders was censored in other games and other launcher chat, like EA Origin chat censored Arc Raiders. Why? Weird. That's odd. Why would they do that? It's not like a bad word. Then Black Ops 7 also banned the term Arc Raiders in any form, like they started out. For those of you that don't know, there's clearly biased reviews from IGN when Arc Raiders hit its second tech test. They called it the most It's Fine game or something like that. And it was definitely bias. But these big companies, I think they try these like business manipulating tactics to get people to not play their competitors' game because they're the big industry and they have the money to kind of do these things. But people see through it. And Arc Raiders is still popular. I mean, in retrospect, it's very popular. So why are they a threat? I think when a company makes a game for fun instead of just for profits, gamers go play that game. I mean, Arc Raiders is #1 selling on Steam pretty much since release. I think there was like 1 or 2 days that something else on sale was top selling, but it's top selling. #1. It's been top 5 played on Steam since release. So many people have said it would fail before launch because it didn't have PvE only, or then they said it was like it would fail 1 week after launch, and then it'll fail 1 month after launch. Now they're saying it'll fail next year, and so on and so on. The game's not failing. The game's doing great. Whether or not it stuck to its original scope, or it's just these shills for these AAA, companies that are getting paid off to spread this propaganda, because this industry is threatened by developers and studios like Embark, because they're making games for the players. And it seems like by the players, like the players are making the games for the other players. Indie games, I'm not saying Embark's an indie game, but indie games offer fun at a lower price. Arc Raiders was $40, whereas the industry norm was $60 to $100. The Finals is free, and the Finals has some great cosmetic options. Very unique, very interesting. What they're doing there, I think they added a stick for a gun. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, if I found a stick that looked like a gun, that was my favorite stick. And they just added that in the game. So I get to relive my childhood again through the Finals. But I think this is why Embark was censored, and they have these biased reviews that are clearly paid off, and by these big AAA studios that they see a threat here to their profits, because the biggest thing that's most important to these AAA studios seem to be return on investment, keeping their shareholders happy, and making money. And it's become front and center to some of these games that they keep doing what we just talked about to just seemingly, in their minds, make profits. But there's a lot of people who are at the top of the chain that are directing these games. They're the decision makers, that they don't play video games. They're not a player. They're business people, and they're making a product, and the product is a game. And I think that's why Arc Raiders or Embark is a threat to the AAA industry. So something I made up recently, or really instead of made up, moreover, I observed, is this thing that I'm going to call the game developer cycle. And we can make a little infographic as we go. And maybe y'all have noticed this too. So random people come together to make a game they want to play themselves. How many stories have we heard of said successful game that started in a bedroom studio and they just made it because they themselves wanted to play it? I know Halo was like that. The Diablo 1 was like that. There's so many games made in this way. People come together, make a game they want to play themselves. And when they make the game, sometimes the game gets really popular. Step 2. It was made for players and it was made with passion. Most of the time it's unique. A lot of times people buy the game. Sometimes lots of people buy the game. These random guys make a lot of money. Step 3 is investors and companies see this product gaining popularity and earning profits. Capital is necessary for expansion. Investors and company invest, but then they seek a return on their investment. This is business 101. This is fine. This is good. It helps the game get more of an audience. Like with Diablo 1 and then to Diablo 2, Diablo 2 was great. And so with the stage 3 of this cycle, we get some great games like the original Call of Duty or Black Ops. It's like the people who made these random guys who came together to make a game they wanted to play themselves have the investment behind them to make something of a much larger scope, and their imagination is their own limit. Yeah, we do get some great games. But what tends to happen is step 4. These new games are forced out and with an emphasis on return for the investment. Then we see everything we just talked about, the AAA industry. They're rushed to market. They're made more for profits and less for fun. They're made more by the investors and the decision makers now rather than the gamers. They're the decision makers now because they control the funds. And then there becomes this overwhelming pressure for a return of investment rather than just making something for fun. And then step 5 happens. These devs usually leave the studio. We're seeing that with Embark. They're ex-EA and DICE devs. They eventually leave the studio because of this pressure. And then we see everything we talked about with the AAA industry happen alongside a different cycle. The old studio and the old games eventually die. They become everything we talked about. The copy and paste of each other. They make the same new game every year. They get super desperate for profits, and people start to see that. Players just stop playing, like with Bungie and Halo and Destiny, with what they did with Microsoft and Halo, and Destiny with Sony and what's happening now. Blizzard with Overwatch 2 and World of Warcraft and what they've done with Diablo, Activision and everything they've done with Call of Duty. They're making the same games. Ubisoft. Enough said. I don't really need to give examples for that one. EA with Battlefield 5 and 2042. And so the next step of the game studio development cycle is that the devs start their own studio. And here we are with Embark. Now the devs come and they have this experience from the AAA realm, and the devs start their own studio. And we're kind of back to the beginning. Devs make very popular game that they themselves want to play, but now they have more experience. And we're seeing this with Arc Raiders. We're also seeing this with Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, ex-Ubisoft devs. These 2 games have changed this year's gaming experience for all of us, for single-player gamers and for, multiplayer gamers. These games are clearly made by people who want to play the game. And they're making experiences and memories and just time that we can spend playing, having fun. Just fun, just plain old fun. It's wild, right? Just making a game for fun. What a wild concept, right? But I think these studios that these devs eventually leave, they just become so desperate for profits that players they see right through it, and it's not as fun anymore. Now, of course, this cycle likely repeats. It's certainly possible that it just goes through the same cycle and again and again and again. And when these devs start their own studio with all this added experience, yeah, it's a threat to the industry, but it also brings us back to this, golden step where they have the capital and they have the vision and the experience to make these really, really fun games. And we're seeing this with Arc Raiders. But I did just want to point out that Valve really didn't follow this cycle. I mean, maybe they can fix the cheaters in CSGO. And, they never sold out, I guess. Valve is still the GOAT, Half-Life 3? One can only hope. Still. What is the Embark effect on the industry? Well, these games seem to be made by gamers. People who want to play the game that they're making. Now, although profit is the ultimate outcome of any business, it doesn't seem like Embark is putting that ahead of making a fun game that they themselves want to play. They have shown that they have a clear vision with their game, and they're willing to make a directional change based on if the game's fun or not. Now, because of their position on what I just called the developer cycle, we see the Embark effect taking a place with the AAA game studios where they use their money and their business minds to manipulate the market. And this might work with children who play Fortnite, but it seems like, the average gamer is seeing right through the bull, if you will. And these companies seem to get more and more disconnected from the people that are actually playing their game. And then, people move on. The gamers who make the game move on and make their own new studio with a whole new generation of companies, ideas, games, and they develop new fans. And these games made for shareholders instead of gamers, they eventually fail or die. Like they're making the same game every year. They're refiltering ideas and just copying each other. And we're seeing all these games die. Call of Duty, Halo, or anything made by Ubisoft, or, a lot of the Blizzard stuff. It's just all that recycled content and the recycled ideas are getting boring and replaced with new ideas and, new developers, new studios, new games. Halo is set to remake Halo 1 again. They just keep making literally the same games. And so no wonder these games are dying. And, this started in a bedroom with guys who wanted to make a game that they themselves wanted to play. And it's okay that these games are going to die. It's over. We've experienced it. It's done. So what does this mean for the industry? This actually means this is a prime time to play games. Many insert company devs are making games that they want to play again. And these old IPs or these old games, they need to die. It's okay. We've experienced it. We don't need to keep remaking these old games. I mean, y'all remember Quake, right? You guys remember Medal of Honor? Medal of Honor spawned Call of Duty, or the people who made Medal of Honor. Sonic the Hedgehog, EverQuest. All these old games paved the way for these new games that we've gotten over the last 10 years. And the cycle is repeating itself again. All the Halos and the CODs and the games came from Blizzard or Ubisoft have paved the way for new gamers to make new ideas and new games and new IPs, which will likely follow the same path in the next 10 years to where we got the same game bought out by big company, and then they just keep repeating the same game, until there's 20 versions of it, until it dies again and the cycle starts over again. So this is a great time to be a gamer. This year has had some great games to play because of the new ideas and the new games. And there's new experiences. We're making new friends with these games, new memories. And maybe Half-Life 3 can never lose hope, So this is the Embark effect on the industry, or just that's what I'm calling it. The same can be said for the devs of Expedition 33. A new cycle of gaming is upon us, where the old is possibly dying out. But in return, we have seen and experienced something great. And if you haven't tried the finals, you should definitely try it. If you haven't tried Arc Raiders, you should definitely try it. I'm Solutions, and this has been yet another rant. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
See you. 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 See you.